Hey there, guys. It's Metro. We're doing something we haven't done in a long time, and I used to offer it as like a Patreon perk. I mean, I still technically do. Nobody has claimed it in a long time. I think Geg was the last one in middle of season one, but I like doing it anyway. So I'm gonna hook people up. If anybody has interesting content they want me to take a look at, I'll happily do it. And this is Grixin, so new member of the community here. He's been trying to get better at Blood DK here. And we're going to take a look at his first 20, and I think first 20 in time. I don't know if he's done 20s out of time. It doesn't look like, yeah, I guess he did this 20 theater maybe out of time. But this was recorded last week now, so publishing this on Monday. This is going to be over a week old, I think. But anyway, he's playing Venthyr, Blood DK, General Draven. I haven't played Venthyr at all, so I don't really know how to use the spell well, but he has made some decisions that I do want to talk about immediately. So, first things first, he's using Crimson Rune Weapon, which, yeah, I mean, again, I don't play Venthyr, but if you're taking Crimson Rune Weapon, you have the Phial of Putrefaction on as a trinket, and you have Bone Storm as a talent. It's just like those things don't really go well together, in my opinion. And you also have Rune Tap or Blood Tap. It's like I don't really feel like those things make sense together, right? So like, if I was playing with these talents and with these spells and these choices, I would be definitely playing Super Strain, right? Because it's like at that point, and especially as Venter, at that point you're just flooding yourself um, with runic power and stuff. So you shouldn't have any trouble. Like, so the problem for me and the main reason why I use Crimson Rune is because as a Night Fae, I am like so rune starved, it's unbelievable. So this legendary dramatically helps with that because it allows me to get 5 free bone shield charges every time, which is huge. It's at least, it's multiple uses of Marrow and saved every time it's up, and it increases my rune generation rate by 40% for the 10 seconds after it. So between that and meat shield and all the different values you get, it's extremely good for Night Fae. And honestly, I think Night Fae is a big part of why I'm doing so much HPS, because you get a ton of mastery from Naya. And obviously, I have more mastery in my gear than most people, just as a coincidence. So it's like, these things are not just, you can't just recommend them to everybody. That's why I don't do like guides and stuff anymore. There's just too many variables, man. So if any of those decisions are, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. Let's put it that way. But yeah, this one especially. I mean, I guess if you're doing keys where you don't feel like you need any defense whatsoever, then yeah, go for that. But I'm telling you, like, if there was one thing that I would say every DK should be using, it's the Tazavest trinket, man. Like it's insane. Like I think it's better than I think it's one of the best offensive trinkets, and it's one of the best defensive trinkets. Like I literally won't take that off until I get like the same equivalent value from the one from the raid, because the one from the raid looks like it should be as good, but it's kind of different. So it deals damage and heals in a different way. But yeah, the whole Bone Storm thing, I just don't really get that, because we were doing, we had this conversation about how good Blood DK's defensive availability is. Like in the past, defensive uptime was like huge. That was what everybody cared about in raiding, and then it was spilling over into Mythic Plus, because that's all anybody knew how to do was raid at the time. So this is a Legion early BFA. People were like, "Oh, Prot Warrior has the best defensive availability. They're the best tank and keys." And it's like, yeah, that's not really true, but yeah, I mean, you're right. So, but Blood DK, like, so those conversations don't really happen anymore, but it is still somewhat relevant. And Blood DK is just king, and it's because of Red Thirst. Like, you got added Lichborn, you got added AMZ. There's all these nice conduits and stuff with like a meat shield and stuff like this. So like, if you have Crimson Rune and Red Thirst, you literally have a CD for every single pack. Like, it's not possible to not have a CD for a pack. So like that's why the talent is so good. But yeah, maybe you don't need it. I don't know. Let's take a look at the actual footage. But before we start, I have a question. This is an add-on, obviously. Can you guys tell me what add-on this is? Because this is actually very interesting. And honestly, I think I want to get this add-on. I think, is this Addy Bags? Because this is Fax who was telling me about this. He said you could actually like assign places, and they'll go in there only. So the fact that you have all this armor, I don't know why you have so many pairs of boots and legs and all these things, but anyway, that's not part of the video. Let's get to it. We got a guy, so it's an interesting comp. We got Fire Mage. Guy's name is Arson Wells, which is just top name, of course. Anyway, and then we got Demon Hunter and Rogue, and him as Venthyr Blood DK. So I assume, let's see how this is handled here, because I assume Venthyr is great to have in this dungeon, but I imagine you can't actually use the Venthyr stuff as a tank. Like, I've never done it myself, but okay. So anyway, we had the super easy. This was like the easiest fort week, and we got it right at the zenith of our power. So everybody absolutely crushing this week. Oh, in terms of like what he's got on the screen as well, like I think this is a pretty good set of week wars here. I'm not really sure, I haven't looked at it too long, but it does seem like everything is there. Showing every piece of info you have. So that was something that we always talked about. Having good, knowing what's going on in your character is not optional. Especially as a tank, you need to know what your health pool is. You need to know what your spells are doing. So for me, I vehemently, I'm going to say vehemently disagree with the way it's set up, though. Like, I do not like this at all. I mean, do you? Do people like? So like, I think a lot of people do that as like a tank or a DPS or like a healer or something like that. Even where like they're used to old school setups. We also have that week or good. Anyway, where they're used to like old school setups where the health is on the left and the enemy is on the right, and then there's stuff in the middle, because that's kind of like how other games have set it up. And like a very popular early add-on stuff, they did that. Okay, but as a tank, like there's nothing else that's more important than your health pool. So I mean, if you're comfortable looking low and to the left, then fine, feel free. I'm sure you are, that's why you're doing it. But any aspiring tanks out there, anybody who's like just getting into UI setup for tanks, the tier one number one thing I can recommend is absolutely having your health pool in the dead center of the screen, right under your character. That's where I have it. And then you could see, no matter what, you're looking at your character, you're seeing your health pool. If I'm looking at his character right now, I cannot get a good visual indication of where my health pool's at. And that's going to lead to deaths, and that's going to lead to mistakes. And I'm going to say this right now. I did watch some of this footage, and there's one major critique I will make, and that is death strike usage. Your death strike usage is quite poor. Now, I'm not saying mine's better or anything like this, but this spell is the core. It's the bread and butter. So I see you constantly like, well, even not even low health, but like relatively low health, and you're not spending runic power on death strike. You're not timing it well. It does look like you have the add or the weak ore or whatever to show you where your death strike's going to end up, but I see that a lot later in the dungeon. And I think a lot of people probably make that mistake. So usually, about a year ago, or maybe a year ago, probably like 2 expansions ago now, everybody was like, the problem I saw people have was that they weren't using their CDs well. And I would say in this footage, that's not the case. Like, we just use Bone Storm on a single target. Is that a good use of it? I don't actually know. Last time I played Bone Storm, you don't ever use it on a single target. It's a waste of both healing and DPS. But regardless, he's using his CDs well. That's a lot. He's using them a lot. Let's put it that way. As you can see, nothing is off CD right now. Crimson Rune, and he uses it on the pack. So there you go. Dancing Rune weapon comes up, uses it right on this mob. So yeah, okay. You know what? That's you understand the basics of it. Using CDs as often as possible is not the worst mistake you could make. That's for sure. Even AMZ there, So yeah, usually when I watch these things, that's the number one thing. So if you're new and you're thinking about playing DK, just be aware we have a ton of CDs. I don't actually see. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, so you have a ton of CDs, like 100 different things you can do. It's actually crazy. And if you're not going to use them, like, so the reason I always say this is because like a lot of people come from tanks that aren't Bloody K. So historically, Prot Warrior and Prot Paladin were the two that I felt like the most, like, people had, like Shield Wall and what's that, Last Stand. These are CDs that like you don't use on CD because they're not, like, they don't really do anything, most packs. They're not there for that. You know what I mean? It's like Icebound. Like, DK has Icebound, and that's the equivalent of Shield Wall. You don't need them every pack. You only use them when you need them. But then, like, Prot Warrior doesn't have other CDs like that. They have Shield Block, which is like a 3-second CD. You know what I mean? So it's like they're not used to how Blood DK has a bunch of small CDs, and they're not used to using them in succession and in a way that it makes your ability to solo the pack easier. And I do this wrong all the time, but this is the number one thing that everybody should be looking to do well as a Blood DK. And to his credit, he's doing extremely well with. Like, he's rotating CDs very well. There's always stuff on CD. He's never for so far. I mean, we haven't seen the whole run, but so far everything is used pretty quickly, and that's like I said. If you even if you pop, the only one I would say, even with Crimson Rune on, is don't pop Dancing Rune Weapon at the end of a pack, unless you're sure it's going to be backup for when you need it. Because right now, as a Blood DK, the number one problem I have personally is threat, and threat on the pull is all that matters. Once you establish threat, you're good. That's it. So having Crimson Rune is great, but having Dancing Rune on the pull is more important. And Crimson Rune's going to help with that, but it is going to delay some of the usages at times. Like if it were to be upright, yeah. So there you go. Did he just use it now, or was that? Oh, that's. I guess what's happening with this weak ore is it's showing. This is an interesting weak ore. I don't really feel like you ever need to track that. Yeah. So he did use it at the end of the pack, but it's fortified, so it's fine. I suppose you don't really need it for the start of a boss. But he's going to use it on CD here, and then the weak ore is going to actually show the 40% rune generation part too. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. Nice little weak ores. Um, yeah, so I would say probably don't do that. I don't know. It's just tough because if you have the legendary on, it's like you're missing usages of it. But if you're using it at the end of a pack when it's not helping you survive and it's not helping you do damage, you're just kind of padding out uses of it. So I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to be sure what the one size fit all answer is for that. But on a boss, not really important. But it's nice, especially with Bloodlust, to have that up. So now you're gonna go most of the boss without it up. And the good thing I will say is, yeah, parrying that first knockback is actually very useful because you don't want to. I don't know. Maybe that causes some confusion. People get the boss moves a bit, something like that. So okay, so Juggernaut Rush. Let's see. Yep, good. Now, as a tank on this fight, I always try to feel like I need to move this boss to the far end of the hall here. In early parts of Shadowlands, people were trying to do some crazy things on this fight, like run all the way to the other side. I don't think that really happens anymore, but yeah, okay, looks like he's doing the same thing I do. And then just get knocked in that gate and then eat that first one immediately. So no matter, so like, so what you're doing here is like a psychological trick. Like you're making it so nobody, since they're all doing this, you get yours right out of the way. And like some tanks don't do that. Some tanks like run all the way to the edge too. But it's like, I just don't really see why you would do that because you're risking now everybody hitting theirs at the same time. So in a pug, it's a bad idea, straight up bad idea. Now, of course, you can avoid the knockback with Death's Advance. That's one thing I don't see on the screen anywhere. And it should be done because, it's a missed Death Strike. You can time the Death Strike right as you get hit. Talked about this a lot over the years, but it's a good AMZ there, although you throw it on a single person. Definitely would have been better on the melee there. I make that mistake all the time too, actually. I think like the source of the damage is where you throw the AMZ. Like if the mechanic is being hit out at range and you throw it at range, but realistically, you got to make sure you're hitting the densest group of people. At this point, I've just started just throwing it on me because it's like if other people want to get defended, then they can just stand on me, and otherwise, like I'm not gonna try to gamble on where they're standing and moving so much, especially with Demon Hunter and all these classes and stuff. So it is fortified, right? So that boss shouldn't have been too difficult, but okay, so we're gonna pull all this. I've never done, oh yeah, okay, pull this with 2. Okay, that makes sense. Nice pull there, I suppose. I don't really think, so I don't know anything about those mobs, but like, these casters, this next pack, it's like, I think you want to pull all the casters together. It's dangerous at times, but um, what I find is like, yeah, if people are going to try to, use all their CDs on interrupting stuff, you want it to be on a big pack. So especially with some comps, like especially when you have balanced druid, it's like don't give them an opportunity to waste their CD on this, right? So like if you have a bunch of people with silences, they're gonna waste them on these 2 mobs. That's why, like, that's the main reason why I pull all that together every single week because it's like, okay, listen, let's just make sure, even if we have a bunch of deaths here, which we have had, and it's probably not ideal, but just give us a chance to use up our best like utility spells, like stuns and AoE silences or disruption. Let's use that all on the biggest pack possible. So pretty I mean, it can be risky on fortified, that was the issue, but DK got a lot of options and he's using them well, getting some gore fiends and some regular grips in there to interrupt. That's really good, really well done. This looks like a pro, man. Looks like somebody who's been playing DK a long time. Looks like somebody who really has it down. This pull though, definitely gonna go with the Frost guy. Always, you don't want to fight these guys alone. These guys have a lot of health. They don't really do anything now either. They used to be really dangerous. Literally, even if you don't interrupt them, they like even if you just completely ignore them, they don't really do anything anymore. They used to do like a frontal. This knock up thing used to hit all 5 people. It used to be a complete mess. But now it's like they just hit the tank and they knock up 3 people if they don't move. So I would say, unless you're not pulling the Frost guy, which is maybe something people do, I don't think that's an option though in this dungeon. I feel like, yeah, okay, we're pulling it. I don't really feel like that's an option, because the last boss is so movement heavy that I don't think you'd ever want to do that. But yeah, definitely pull both. Pull both. I don't think there's a week where you don't. I mean, maybe like Sanguine or something, but I doubt it. Sanguine doesn't affect the lieutenants anyway. I don't think so. A little time lost there, but it's such an easy key, man. So I kind of almost feel like, you know what, just take 0 risks in this dungeon. You're going to be good. I can't really tell. This is the bar over here. We should probably move it. Let's move the camera so you guys can see the DPS and stuff too. Yeah, the bar and whatever this weak core is. I don't like this at all. I honestly hate this. Like, I don't know why people use this. It looks terrible to me, and it seems, to me, it looks like it's giving less information, but it's all there. It's just like, looks awkward. But the deaths part, like, I don't know. Can you hover over that and you see how many people die and stuff? Does it work like that? Not a big fan of that one. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to tank him near the wall here. Very good. Make sure you're trying to line of sight here. DK has multiple options. You can AMS it. And you could also just blink away as a knife fade. Probably a Venthyr could do the same, but dread bindings go off and you don't do any of them. Unlucky. So yeah, you can, I wonder how many people actually, maybe people don't actually know that. So you can, yeah, so you want to break the chains though. Definitely don't want to just stand there with it. I mean, I've actually done that before, and it's like not that bad, but it's a lot of extra damage. So when you're tanking them against the wall here, maybe you're not aware of this, or maybe you just didn't react properly. Like, you can line of sight that cast, and this was a very, very common thing in Legion. So I guess I kind of grew up with that. And there we go. So he does it that time. But it's like nobody ever does that in Shadow. There's like very few things that people line of sight nowadays. So you can line of sight it all. Like, you can line of sight every single cast any mob ever does. I mean, unless it's a mob that, you know, as long as it's an applicable type mob, right? You can do that with every single cast in the game. So, so what's going on here? Trying to figure out. Just kind of standing around. I don't know. Oh, is the priest dead? I think that's somebody's dead. I think. Yeah. Okay. All right. So this pack. Okay. So is he gonna go in the room? I don't like the room thing because you get way too much count. It's not the route I do, but certainly. So like here you see like, okay, so let's this is like the first time I noticed like significant danger. So you have all these things. You know, you have Lichborn and whatever the I don't even really know how good of a defensive the Covenant ability is for Venthyr, but I assume, you know, 10% dodge is sizable. But we're down to 29% health. You have 99 runic power. 125. Now, you know, you're just getting like so much runic power in such a short period of time. And then there's our first death strike there. So like I think, like, you know, whatever, it's nitpicking, but I do think we really want to get so and I think this is partially because of Bone Storm. Like, you have Bone Storm. Is that what's gonna happen here? You're gonna use Bone Storm? Yeah. So it's like, this spell is a trap, man. I'm telling you, like, I don't know why people are using it, but it's just gonna make your Death Strike usage bad. Like, so you're choosing between Death Strike and Bone Storm. It's like, the way you use Bone Storm, this is the way I've always used it, and this is what I'm recommending for everyone. You go into the pack with 100 runic power. Like, so for Blood DK, they're never strong on the pull. I don't, like, even with all these buffs and all these different things they have, they're never strong on the pull. They're always at their absolute weakest on the pull. So you go into the pack with 100 runic power, and you use Bone Storm first global. You could even use it like before you pull if you really want to. But don't go into the pack with like 90 runic power and waste a bunch of runic power. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I see most people do. They're trying to build like from like 50 up to get Bone Storm on the pack. You're just wasting a ton of time. Like, that's just such a bad approach. This spell does not work like that, man. It just doesn't. Like by the time like 7 or 8 seconds into the pack happen, like you're gonna be good. You don't even need it. You're just using it for offense, you know? So get those initial ticks of threat and those initial ticks of healing as soon as humanly possible. And if you can't, then don't use it on that pack. That's the thing about Bone Storm. It's like not a cooldown. You know what I mean? It's the difficulty of it is using it with 100 runic power. Everything else about it doesn't matter. It doesn't. You don't need to use Bone Storm on cooldown. You know what I mean? That's not. It's not that kind of CD. You don't lose anything by not using it. That's the thing. Like you most of the times you don't even really want to use it. Like if it was up right now, you're not going to use it on 2 mobs. You know. So it's like make sure that you're setting yourself up to use the spell optimally. Otherwise, don't use the spell, even if you have the talent. But I don't know. I haven't used it at all since. I mean, I guess we used it in the beginning of BFA because it was ridiculously strong in the beginning of BFA. But yeah, I can't see myself using it much. But I'm not really sure what this is. It's something to do with the affixes, maybe. Maybe it's something to do some kind of buff that he's getting somewhere. But anyway, this pack also, you don't need to line of sight. That's like just get up there and start hitting the mobs. The problem with line of sighting stuff like that is the healer is the one who's going to end up having the threat if you're not generating threat on the mobs for long enough. And especially as a DK, just get 1 interrupt and 1 grip, and that's it. Like the rest of the pack will funnel in. But he is doing a completely different option with the jars than I normally do. So like getting the jars here is, I hate to say it, but it feels like a trap, right? So getting all that trash that you did, it looks good, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people do this, but you're getting a jar for a time when you don't need it. Like you're about to use it. Is it gone already? Oh no, here it is here, yeah. See, the jar is over and they have 7 stacks and it's 55 seconds. So watch when it expires. You're going to see what I mean here. This is a very common thing that people do in this dungeon, and I think it's just a complete mistake. Unless somehow you're also getting what I would recommend to do as well, which I don't think that's. I don't actually know how much count that pack gives. So, okay, so we're gonna pull it here. So we have 35 seconds. We're fighting like 6 mobs that don't do any damage to anybody or don't do anything anyway, and a single mini boss. Okay, so it's gonna end on this pack. That's long story short. Okay, so if you can get this pack over to the jar, maybe use that. And then you'd have it for Varuth. Or maybe you could even do a bigger pull here with Varuth, but I highly doubt anybody's doing that. I assume it's Varuth. I can't remember what. Well, regardless, it doesn't matter. Pulling a lieutenant maybe with the buff is a good idea. But that's it. Like that's just completely wasted. Like that jar didn't do anything for us now, right? But if you get the jar that I'm getting on the right side of this next area, what you can do is you can set yourself up to have 2 jars back to back, meaning at least like 7+ stacks for like the entire hallway. And it can line up really, really, really well. Where I've had it where it's like, if you've started a little early, you can have it for like the whole hallway. And it'll almost expire as you're getting to the next jar and killing mobs. And there's a couple mobs in that pack that are really, really low health pool. So you could almost like bait it to the last possible second. And then it's just huge value. Then you're sitting with 10 stacks for like minutes. And that's great, you know what I mean? But so I get here, I mean, like, I just don't see any value to that there. Like, obviously use the jar, but pulling that pack, it's just like, those mobs are not, I mean, where are we at count? I guess we'll see what we're at count-wise when we leave this area, but anyway, Varuth here, solo, pretty much have to. There's not really much you can do. I'm going to tell you right now, this is actually Grixin here who basically alerted me to the fact that you can AMZ the shadow damage. I did not know this was shadow damage. I just never even paid attention because he's doing so much physical damage that I never even thought, you know. But yeah, using AMZ on this, he's about to do it. He's like actually using his CDs better than I am. Like honestly, he's doing such a good job with CD usage. It's very impressive. And I felt the same way about Geg. Geg was doing things that like he was doing better than I was. And so just trying to figure out, like for Geg's problem, he had like terrible UI. You know what I mean? It was like he had some very basic issues that once we solved, he became an extremely good player. And I think this is kind of the opposite here. Like you have all the hard stuff figured out really well. Like a great UI, Really good CD usage, like the main functionality of Blood DK. Always combine these packs, by the way, even on Fortified. The mobs that you're waiting on are just, they don't do anything. So this is a huge time loss here. No matter what, you combine this, because this is a pack that everybody's going to have CDs up for. And the big guy, you know, it's only going to be extra cleave. So, oh, so wait, are we actually going right here? Okay, this is interesting. I mean, I assume those 2 extra pulls that you did there would make you have way too much count. Oh, maybe you're only going to get, oh, I see. So you're only going to get like a very small amount of stacks from this one jar. You're only going to pull these. Ooh, careful there. Careful there. That's a lot of damage to be standing in. Hold on a second. Hold on one quick second. Probably typing or focusing on something. Getting some good grips there. What the hell was that? Did you just grip 2 mobs? Gore Fiends, I guess. Yeah, Gore Fiends, then regular grip. Okay, so is it him who's gonna click the jar? Is that why? I still have yet to see. We have another event there. The jar's clicked. He's just standing in that. 30k damage from that fire ability. That's why I love this weak ore, man. That's why I love this damage type weak ores. And you see exactly how big the mistake just was. We're getting hit hard here, man. Okay, now we are pulling this. Okay, so are we just gonna be like, unless there's some more aggressive skip you can do at the end, maybe you can skip both of those packs? If so, then yeah, totally worth it. We do have a rogue. Anyway, so yeah, I would definitely be combining more mobs here, one way or the other, though. The problem with this jar is it doesn't last very long. So doing it like this, you're really wasting a lot of stacks of it. But you also did a, I don't know, like this is not how I would handle this area one way or the other. You want to pull that early pack, the only pack that's actually dangerous. You want to get that killed with as much value as possible. Oh, and now we're leaving the jar. Wait, what? Just kidding. Yeah, okay. So there's a little routing on the fly here, maybe? I'm not really sure exactly what's going on here. But anyway, jar's closed, so this is probably going to make us lose it. But so yeah, see that patrol? That patrol always comes. Like you're not going to fight that, and it's not going to come, I think, right? So pull like big pack when you enter. Get the pack on the left, because that pack is too far away from the jar to combine, right? So you can't get any value from that because it's a bunch of casters. So grip them in, even if you want a line of sight, you can get that all together. Get them all together, no matter what tank you're playing. Get them all together. See those 2 mobs there? Like, it's going to be, let's see what he does. Let's see, maybe I'm wrong about this, but no. Yeah, okay, he's just pulling them solo. So that's a huge waste of that jar. Huge, 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 huge. Because you can get this next jar started. So that last one ends, and then you get this next one started, and it rolls over. So 5 goes to 6. You know what I mean? Instead of now, it's going to go to 0, and then you're going to start back at 1. So listen, this is a huge mistake, honestly. I mean, you upgrade this key, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty tight, right? So yeah, you're not killing this. You're not getting us. Yeah, yeah. So you can pull this pack and then that pack up there. Hopefully you can see it. There's a pack up there. Okay. So you pull these together. You now have like 6, 5, 5, at least 6 or 7 probably stacks of that other jar you came back from. These guys get annihilated. There's that book. You can grip the book and it's going to immediately die and immediately give you a new stack. Okay. This is the way you do this. This is why this dungeon's so easy. Because like for like, I mean, I don't know how much trash percent. This is probably like 30% of the count in this hallway. You're gonna have 100. You know, you're gonna have a ton of extra damage. So yeah, I don't know. Minor changes. It doesn't change the route. Okay, I mean it does if you're gonna do what I'm suggesting. We'll see how much count you have. But one way or the other, you basically did what I suggested anyway. So you want 75 coming down. That's the main thing. Yeah, you see that book or whatever that thing is? It's a feather, a piece of paper or something. That thing is free. It gives you a free stack. So you want to make sure you're getting that free stack as early as possible. So gripping that mob is paramount. I fail all the time. I constantly do that wrong because the mob's not there when you pull. It's in the cage or something like that, I think. And we failed to get the stacks. Wait, what just happened? Why do you have so few stacks? Should have 3 coming off this, right? 1. Why do you have 1? Wait, do some mobs not? Oh. I thought every mob. Oh, he just didn't click it. Wait, what? Yeah, he. Oh, I see. That's the guy, and then he says, "Sorry, couldn't click." So the rogue is actually gonna click it. So yeah, that's what. So I mean, I hate to say it, but like Venthyr Bloody K, it looks great and all, but like you got to consider the dungeon buffs, and if you can't even use the jars, Venthyr Bloody K, so you basically can only be valuable in halls. I don't know, man. I've never played it myself in actual keys, but it just seems like a complete bait to me. Like after playing Night Fae for so long, I think Night Fae is way better than people make it sound. It's all because of the soulbinds. Like the spell itself is nothing. The soulbinds are insanely good. I don't think there's a better soulbind on the planet than Naya, honestly. Like legitimately insane. And then there's also Necrolord, which is insanely good too. So okay, so at this point, yeah. So you see, at this point, you would have 10 stacks, and you would be over a minute. Like you'd have a minute or whatever it is, the maximum. You'd come up here, you'd electrify this pack, like literally shock it to death. You'd kill it so fast, people would be doing like 40k, and then you'd go right to boss. And you'd have at least like 15, 20 seconds of it on the boss. And that sounds like, oh, who cares? But that's actually a really big deal because that boss's health pool is basically an enrage timer. The longer that fight lasts, the harder it gets because there's more and more and more movement, less and less CDs up, less chance to survive each time. So killing even 15 seconds of that damage buff. But yeah, you get unlucky. So always, always, always. So you got to pay attention. So this is another huge mistake you made in this game. This is a massive error you're making. And if you're not aware of how valuable this jar is, then maybe that's why it's being made. But massive, massive error, especially on a fortified week. This guy is like the biggest troll. This mob here is the biggest troll mob. You have to know there's always one in each side. Okay, so it's complicated, but I'll spare you the details. Just make sure you always fight one on this left side. Okay, if you're not as exactly aware how it works, there's like 3 of them. One of them is always one, and if it's the last one, it's the most annoying. So if you haven't gotten one up until this point, you have to know to pull that previous pack with that mob there. Otherwise, you're going to sit there fighting a single mob right before a boss. Awful. Nobody's going to use CDs on it. It's going to take like a minute and a half to kill that mob. Absolutely awful. And you don't have any of the buff, the jar now, so. But it is tyrannical, or it is fortified, so this boss shouldn't really matter anyway. I'm sure you're not going to have any issues with it. I don't actually see where mistakes come from. Like, we have a 4 death run going so far. And this is a close upgrade, isn't it? Or is it not? Is it crushed? I can't remember. In terms of damage, like, the group isn't doing anything special. I will also, I hope I won't forget, I'm going to vocalize this now. I will have a full discussion about what the end of the dungeon's damage and healing looks like as a DK on this character, because it's not good. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say it's not good. So, anyway, Carvold's going down like Titanic. We're pushing a little too fast, though. You don't really want to be moving this much. But it doesn't really matter, I guess. You got 2 melee, so. The thing is, the more you move, the less time there is to dodge, or the more time there is to dodge those 2 beams, which sounds like a good thing, but I find it lulls people to sleep. When you have to dodge them back to back like you do at the very start, it's a lot easier to get it done. People dodge it and then move. But what happens here is people like sit in the mechanic, and then it comes around and they forgot about it. So it's just, again, another one of those like pug psychology things. Now, definitely, so where do we use AMZ here? Because I'm telling you, when you got a Holy Priest, this dude's like flimsy. Where do we use AMZ? I'm trying to figure it out. We used it early on the mage. Okay, so that's a waste. I would be sitting here waiting for this Holy Priest to get his ass kicked, like it just happens here, I believe. Or did we miss it? But yeah, so Rogue can immune it, Mage can immune it. Never use it on them. I don't know if Demon Hunter can immune it. I don't think so, but Demon Hunter shouldn't need help anyway. No melee should need help. The only problem is, I guess, if they're out of melee range and they can't generate resources. But ranged, yeah, like characters that are not like particularly strong, like Holy Priest, okay, is in serious trouble every time that cast goes on him. So that's the time you want to use AMZ. Also, you want to use AMS on the mobs being alive, because it does a lot of shadow. As you see, you're actually taking more damage from shadow at times. You're taking more damage from non-physical than you are from actual physical damage on a boss, which is kind of crazy. But this mob, it caused a lot of problems, as you see. So keep that in mind. AMS for that. Best option. Okay, so here he is looking at the count. And what do we have? 75.82. So you're actually perfect. Okay. So yeah, I guess this is fine. Just the order of things was not good. That's interesting. It's actually perfect count. Well, it's a little over, but interesting stuff. Maybe I'll have to try that. I think probably don't pull the bunch of small nonsense. The bunch of small stuff out of the first boss area, and then pull one extra pack on the right, and that's probably everything you'll need. I'll have to look into this. I assume that those packs in those hallways, there's so many mobs in them, but I guess they don't actually give a lot of count. That's interesting stuff. Ooh, that was a leap of faith right there. I didn't know if that was going to aggro Sogadon or not, but I guess you made the right call. So I always like to go around the right. I should always go around the right. Sometimes I don't because I'm just lazy or not paying attention. But the problem is those mobs over there cannot come over here. I've tried it. They really don't like doing it. So you really need to get a really nice pull of these mobs. This is a huge time sink doing it this way. So it's another place you're losing a lot of time here. And it's just not going to work out like if you go left because the two small mobs. So I guess what you could do is just try to combine them into Sogadon immediately. I think that's probably the right play. You can just do the same pull that I do anyway in different order. What I do is I go right because then at worst you get the pat with that pack. So you got 3 mobs on the right. And then you come from behind and grip up the caster, and then you fight those mobs with Sogadon. And at best, you get the caster and the patrol, but at worst, you get 2 pulls, and that's it. You're just looking for 2 pulls here. You don't want to fight more than 2 pulls here, because that means you're pulling them in a bad order. So I'm not really sure. It just doesn't look very fast to me, but again, it's a pretty easy dungeon, key-wise, timer-wise, so we'll see. Where we actually finish, I don't actually know. Took the shield, good. Took all the same anima powers. I don't think there's anybody not using those same anima powers. But this here is just awful, though. I mean, you definitely don't want to fight Sogadon first, honestly. That's the other problem. I think that this is actually quite funny now. Watch what happens here. I was skipping around to make sure everything was good. The Demon Hunter is going to suggest something that is just asinine, honestly. But is it? Does it happen? Or maybe I miss. He's like pull into the boss. Yeah, boss. The mob's at 10% health, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? Don't do that. Don't ever do that. That's just so stupid, honestly. You're probably going to pull the trash with the boss, though, to be fair. That maybe was a play to make there, but... Okay, so anyway, first, this is probably one of the only dangerous bosses in the whole game for Blood DK. I got killed here the other day, and I'm shocked because I thought I had this situated, but... I feel like you gotta use one defensive every time, either way. But the main way you deal with it is just one good death strike. Just get hit once or twice and then get a death strike and you'll be good. But I just like wait too long. I try to like death strike at the end. So I never approach this. This is, if you remember, King's Rest, same mechanic. I always did it poorly. Constantly did it poorly. People made fun of me, made all these comments about me doing it poorly. It's just like really not, I don't know. I don't have the right mindset for it for whatever reason. I just don't seem to think properly on that kind of mechanic. It's like, oh, I'll wait until the very end and heal myself to full. It's like, or we can just never die to the mob. Like, that's, the way it should be done. You get hit so hard in such a short period of time, my brain just gets tricked into trying to heal myself to full at the end of it instead of heal myself to half in the middle of it. But yeah, nothing special here. Good fight for Blood DK. Probably one of the best actual mechanical fights for Blood DK because you can use AMS for every other. You can use AMZ, and even without CDs, you should be able to survive this Right of Supremacy mechanic every single time easily. I've accidentally done it with no CD and still been fine, but AMZ is huge for this because everybody else is taking a ton of shadow damage too, so you could help with that dramatically. But it's not always going to happen. People got to stand in it. I always throw it down right at the end of the cast because then it will reduce some of the damage of the cast and it will also reduce the dot afterwards. The dot afterwards is actually the hard part. It's like you're low already and then it's the healer struggling to keep up. I love that little Sogadon corpse just over in the corner. Hi, Sogadon. I miss you. I'm going to miss you next season. All right, so we're going up here. So we have actually perfect count. I'm shocked. Those mobs just give very low count, I guess, huh? I guess I should probably just start pulling them. I had never actually looked at how much count they give. I assume that room filled with mobs like that is going to give a ton of count, but it just doesn't. You basically pulled like one less pack than me, even though you pulled 2 more packs than me, and you still have less count than I normally have, which is odd. Very odd. So this stuff is easy. I didn't really talk about it at the beginning either, but these traps, you know, a pretty easy target to soak as Blood DK. I think if somebody's, you know, especially on this pull right here, you can also use that shield too. Do we not use that? Definitely always use the shield on, yeah. Definitely always use the shield on this pack. There's no reason not to. It's a massive damage reduction. Hits everybody as well, so. Maybe use the shield and run through a trap or 2. I don't know, just get some value out of it, but anytime you have, like, you're not actually fighting something that can, you know, you need the shield for, you should just use it. That happens a few times. Could happen in the Gauntlet too, so. Okay, so we're obviously shrouding. It looks like everything goes well. Now this is, I was warned about this from him. This is the big mistake of the key. And coming up here, and we'll see it. I'm going to give full breakdown because this is actually a really, it's an easy problem to fix. You make a huge error here, and all you got to do is isolate that error out, and you'll be good. All right, so we're pulling it here. Now here's the error, really. I mean, this is it. You pop all your shit. Like, look at, you got Rune Weapon up, and you're not fighting this trash. Just fight the trash now. You got Bone Storm up. You got everything up. I mean, pretty much. Disabilities coming up. Icebound not up, but that's fine. You got everything else. Just let's get going here. Like, don't sit on these things. Like, you're wasting it. You've used all your best defensive stuff on the easiest pack in the whole gauntlet. So the reason you die here is because of that. That's it. That's the core reason. Always start this gauntlet with both of these packs, no matter what the week is, no matter what the affixes are, no matter what state you're in, because you've just gone on from. You should have everything up. Now, if for some reason you don't have everything up, well, you probably made an error. But here's the real error. This is actually what ultimately the big error is. So let's take a hard look at this. Okay, wish I could like zoom in on this part of the screen. So the hard error here is you pull them in imperfectly. Okay, so you're getting knocked up by all these things. You're pulling them, and ideally, I assume in your mind you want to pull them all, right? Like I assume you wouldn't have done that if you didn't want to pull them all. So now you're fumbling. I do this all the time. Now you're fumbling to get the other pack. Okay, and you're very low. So you're 41% health right now. Okay, these mobs do a lot of damage. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. You now have no CDs up. You see this? Nothing up. Not a single. You actually have 0 things up, right? So this is bad use of CDs one way or the other, but actually 0 things up. Okay, so we get a good death strike there. That's good. Solves that problem. You're back to full health. But these guys are still absolutely going to rail on you, and the tornadoes aren't helping. And we're very low. Now, perhaps it was a spiky hit. I guess let's take a look at exactly how quick it all happens. But you get hit pretty hard, and you got a lot of runic power. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's a tornado, something else, but you're pretty low here, 59%. You got a lot of health, but that's a lot of damage right there. No CDs, not a single thing on the planet available. It is pouring rain. Not a single thing on the planet available, and you're at 0% health. 9% health? Oh, okay, dead. Now, so the way I look at this, let's watch this all one more time. The way I look at this is it has to be a combination of mental errors, and I'd love to hear your thought. A combination of mental errors, because one, you probably expected all of this to aggro, okay, especially since you're asking about the route and stuff. I assume you are not 100% aware of what some of these things happen. If I'm wrong, just correct me, it's fine. But you were surprised when they didn't all aggro, so your attention gets split. This happens to me all the time. This is just easily solved by just doing reps, getting keys, doing more examples of the problems that happen, and you'll make them less. So you pull it all in, it's finally here. People are low, getting meleeed and stuff, probably because of threat issues, and you've used all your CDs. You realize, like, I hope everybody realizes that. Like, you now have no CDs. This is actually hard as shit. Like, these mobs hit a lot on Fortified. And you have plenty of runic power. Like, I mean, this is like, so you hear this common thing. This is why this isn't true. Okay, this is what when people say like, oh, track their runic power. That's not true at all. Track their CDs, man. If this, like for real, if this healer was tracking the CDs of the player, he would know that he's about to die. This is a guaranteed death scenario. Like you're fucking going to die here. I mean, there's nothing you can do about this. You have every CD on CD, and you're pulling the most dangerous pack. Now, obviously, you could salvage it with death strikes, but it's probably still not going to be enough. You're probably still going to end up dying here, or being very low. This is the time the healer should be aware of you. So these people who are saying like, oh, track their runic power. Yeah, okay, that's good to see because obviously if you have 0 runic power, you have no healing for a few seconds. But it's a few seconds we're talking about here. The CDs are way more valuable than a single death strike. You know what I mean? It gives you that cushion as the healer to know he has vamp blood, he has icebound, he has runic power, all of these things together, not just one of them. So I never really understood that, where that came from. But yeah, and then here is the ultimate, what I assume, the reason, like again, this is like 2 or 3 seconds where you could have easily death strike and been well above, the bar says you'd be like probably like 60% health. So you would have been perfectly fine for most of it, I'd imagine. And then I think the only thing that happens here is like your focus on using this shield, because again, it's just you never do the death strike. Like what? Again, watch this one more time here. But like, when's the last time you death strike? So there. So we are at 33.56. So from 33.56, we do not use another death strike, right? Yep. 33.04. So you had a death strike in that's almost 10 seconds, right? Like you almost 8 seconds of no death strikes when you were in danger. No CDs available. That's really bad. That's huge. Like that's terrible. You could have gotten 2 death strikes off in that period of time. So whatever. I mean, that's how it goes. That's why DK is tough, because you basically put yourself in a way. And let's see runic power, or let's see Morrowind. So you got that part down pretty much. You're using a lot of I'm just not really sure what you're doing right now. I guess blood boil. I'm gonna tell like what is actually going on other than death striking, but I saw this. You told me about this. I checked it immediately. I'm like, death strike usage, huge issue. Huge issue. That's tough, and it's whatever. We all make those mistakes, but okay. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the last couple deaths here. You still upgraded, so couple deaths though. Obviously going to be hard to get threat again. Kale's running around doing stuff. Shields on the ground. Oh no, Rogue has it. Okay, that's another reason you don't want to die here. Now you got to rely on a DPS to use it. That demon hunter is not going to be able to. Oh, he just invis pots or something. Yeah, of course, because we used a rogue. Okay, all right, cool. So let's see how we do the rest here. So we're advancing. Oh, he dropped it. Wow, that's interesting. The guy actually dropped it. How about that? All right, so probably Gunshy now, I understand. But you also really want to combine this. These 2 pulls you really want together. Just fucking tons of stacks. You're going to get so many stacks this jar. It's going to be insane. But again, it's dangerous. We got Rune Weapon. Let's watch this. This looks like it could be very dangerous. Even though you're taking a very conservative pull here. Potentially costing the key here. But again, probably Gunshot. I don't blame you at all. It would be me too. If I died there, it'd be Gunshot as hell. Rune Weapon, only thing available. And again, this is okay. Good, you're gonna get the rest now. This is because you're not taking Red Thirst, man. I would really, really recommend, if you're doing a key where you're worried about surviving on multiple different levels, like unless so like for example, in this dungeon, you only ever were really in danger on 1 or 2 packs. Like a couple packs here and there were somewhat dangerous, but you had it under control. So maybe Red Thirst isn't as valuable. But I think anybody who takes Bone Storm, you really need to know why you're taking it, because Vamp Blood is the best single tank CD in the whole game, if you ask me. I think it is, because it makes the healer stronger too, right? Like, to my knowledge, there's no other CD in the game that does that. And yeah, I mean, you could look at Incarn with the Legendary. Obviously, that's going to be better, but the thing is, it's up so freaking often. Like you can get it twice in a pack, like if the pack is living long. It's like actually insane. how much Red Thirst helps. And you know, a lot of that was in BFA because of the situation with Vamp Blood on the Heart of Azeroth there, but like it's still like 2 expansions in a row, Legion and BFA. It was insanely good talent, and it's still excellent in Shadowlands. I don't think I take Bone Storm for any reason. Even Venthyr, Threat, I don't care about any of this. Like, you die, you don't have Threat anymore, you know, and it's so easy to solve that when you have Vamp Blood every pack. And I think again that's another reason why you see such high HPS numbers for me, because I'm vamp blooding like twice as often as half the people playing Blood DK. And then on top of that, with the extra mastery and all the, you know, the shielding I'm getting also being increased by Vamp Blood, presumably. I assume that's how it works. It's just nuts. Like, it's actually the best talent in the whole kit. So to be not taking it, you have to be like, all right, I don't really need to survive. And I don't, you know, like I said, that plus the DPS trinket. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that, especially that DPS trinket. Like, I don't know. It's good. I mean, I'm sure it's good damage, but we're gonna see at the end. Like, this is it's kind of surprising, actually. Like, not that you're doing anything wrong, but I'm just surprised by the end result of this dungeon. I used to say the same thing about Geg. Like, Geg's damage would be so high within necrotic or within whatever I don't even know what it's called, the Hands of Maldraxxus thing. That his damage was so high, but then somehow at the end of the key, he'd be doing less overall damage than me. It's like, what? How is that even possible? You know what I mean? So I'm not really sure. And that's not to say that he shouldn't play Necrolord, because obviously it's extremely good. But it's like, I'm just not really sure it's working. Like, is my point. Like, if Night Fae is supposed to be this bad and all this stuff, it's like, how is it possible that I'm doing better than every other? Like, you know what I mean? Not to say that it shouldn't. I don't know. I don't want to make the wrong statement here, but like, I've watched a lot of footage of a lot of different DKs, and these Covenant things, they don't seem as imbalanced as people make them sound. I think that is the ultimate takeaway here. I think the Covenant situation is a lot more balanced than people think it is. In fact, they might be wrong about a few things. But anyway, final boss, super easy. We have, where's the timer? Hard to tell. We have 2 minutes and 58 seconds to kill this boss. So yeah, as you see, the most lenient timer. I mean, besides Necrotic Wake, obviously, the most lenient timer, right? And a big part of that is the jars. The jars really help you go through, like I said, probably at least 25%. I don't actually know how much trash you go through in that area, but you go through a lot of trash in that area, and there's a lot of value from that. Yep, AMZ, a little late though, so that was wasted. Usually you have to drop it first because of the global, but it doesn't really matter. It's not going to be an issue. Oh, that guy's dead. What the hell happened to him? How the hell do you die there? He runs raw, freaking Demon Hunter. This guy is such a clown, man. What was that? I'm so confused what even just happened there. He like charges into the line, or does he jump off the platform? Why is he over there? He falls off the platform, doesn't he? He just gets one shot. I don't think anything in this fight would one shot you on a Tyrannical Week. OMG, he fell off the platform, 100%. Fucking Demon Hunters fan, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. Had to fall off the platform. No problem, though. Fight's a joke. This is a fight to have good DPS on, because there's nothing else. This is like the easiest fight in the game. It's actually surprising how little damage you take as a tank. The rest of the party's getting its ass kicked, though, so throw that down there right at the last second. Everybody's in. Very good. Cool. So I mean, that's pretty much it. We'll watch the rest of the fight just in case Demon Hunter flies off the platform again. But we're pretty much. So I'd say, like, overall, you didn't really make a lot of mistakes, but that one mistake you made. So I sat here and praised your CD usage the whole time. It was excellent for 99% of the dungeon, and then that one time. So the healer dead too. Jesus, really hard fight. Just kidding. Anyway, the thing that happens there is you used all your CDs on the pack that was easy, and then you didn't have any of them up for the part of the pack that was hard. So the way you solve that is you pull them all together. Like, I don't know why you didn't. I guess you were nervous or worried about it, but it's like you actually killed yourself there. That pack's difficulty is going to be overwhelmed by your defensive. Like, prowess. If you have your CDs up for it, you will not die to that pack. So you could AMS, you could AMZ as well, because there's all kinds of casters. Make sure you have Dancing Rune Weapon up. You're going to parry half their hits. This priest is fucking garbage. Dies again. Luckily, the key succeeds. Plus 18 rating. Wow, you got a lot. Wow, that's a lot. Really sloppy. But let's take a look at this end result here, because this is one of the main things I was surprised by. So now, again, the jar, I guess the jar wasn't used that great, okay? Again, I wish I could zoom in, but the jar wasn't, was he going to show something? What is this? Discard? Oh, this is that stupid graph thing, right? And it's never, probably click don't show this again. I would recommend that. Okay, anyway, yeah, so there's nothing. Okay, so I wish, and by the way, guys, if anybody wants to do a review, please just do me a favor and just show the breakdowns on the screen, even for a second. But we can't see that. But anyway, we can see the overall damage. So 5.6k there. So again, let's recap. We just did Necrotic Wake, or we just did Sanguine Depths, right? It has a lot of free damage in it. Like you get a lot of power from those jars, okay? But we did it on a character that's got Venthyr, which is supposed to be much better damage than what I play. Has Bone Storm, which is obviously considerably better damage than what I play. Like that alone should be like 10% of your damage. Can't tell because we don't have the breakdown, but we have a File of Putrefaction on instead of a second DPS trinket, which is pure offensive play. Although again, I'm pretty sure my Tazavest trinket is going to do more damage than the File, but I'm not sure at this point. And you still did 5.6k. So I'm not actually sure. I mean, I guess I can look, but I'm not actually sure what the last. Let's take a look. Actually, I'm going to take a look. We're going to go through this slow way. I'm going to look for the last Sanguine Fortified I did. I think we probably did one the same week. So let's see if we can find one real quick. But yeah, I also, in terms of the healing, like 5.8k. Let's actually compare that to, I'm going to just do it on the screen here. That was week 10, or no, it was week 11. And we did not do a Sanguine. God damn it, are you serious? That's unlucky. Yeah, that was actually the one that we didn't finish. So we'll just go to week 9, which is also, oh no, that's, wait, I'm looking at the wrong week. Sanguine 21, perfect. Lucky, wrong week. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at this. Take a look at the overall breakdown. Just gotta finish the fights. Okay, there you go. So, yeah. So we looked at the same thing with Gego. This group fucking sucks. This is actually the overall? Oh, no. Okay, I was gonna say. It's like, what the hell? Okay. All right, so we'll make this full screen. Okay, so as you see, this is 21. So obviously a little bit like, I don't know. I guess means more healing, I guess. I'm not really sure what changes, but anyway, 21 upgraded. So 1 level higher than what you just did. And I actually do more damage. So I did 11 million damage at 5.7k compared to your 12 million damage. Wow, that's interesting. What's that about? You actually do more damage than me, but less DPS. So that's because you died, maybe. So interesting. So you do more damage than me. The group's kind of garbage, though, compared to this one. 13k, 12k, 10k compared to 10k, 10k, 9k. And again, I think a lot of that's jar usage. And then if you look at healing, I do 8.9k HPS. You did 5.8k with a pretty consequential death. So, I you know, whatever. I don't know what to say, but like legitimately, I think. So you draw your own conclusions from this, but I don't do more damage. I don't know. That part doesn't make any sense to me, but. Anyway, do more DPS than you did as a completely, like, I don't focus on offense whatsoever. I have nothing that indicates I should be doing good offense. I don't even have the conduit that increases my class spells offense, which does a lot. If I took that in keys, my DPS would go up substantially. But I don't take it. Like, I'm sold out to not die. And I still die, but I don't want that to be stressful. I don't want that time in the key to ever be difficult. Like at any point, at any given time, I have all CDs and all these things. I should be perfectly safe. I should be able to solo every pack. That's my goal. That's how I always approach Blood DK. I've always looked at it. If I can solo every pack, we're going to crush. And yeah, I don't know. So draw the conclusions that you will from that. I was just shocked because we saw the same thing with Geg when he was doing. I mean, I saw him doing like triple my DPS on some packs as well. It's like I'll never even come close to doing that much damage. That spell is crazy. And then at the end, I still do overall more. So I don't know what to blame that on. I don't know how to say that. I think the jars probably are a big part of it. You did use them very poorly. I wish it wasn't this dungeon. And if we ever do another one, we could take another look at this. But I would get that File of Putrefaction off as fast as possible. That thing's useless. Put on a Tazavest trinket. Go get that Tazavest trinket, or any other trinket. Honestly, like I guess if you don't have another defensive, I guess the problem is if you're only doing 5-mans, there is no other defensive trinket, huh? I wonder what that. That's a great question. I wonder what people are using if they're only doing 5-mans. I don't really know. Besides the Tazavest trinket, there's nothing, right? So let me hear your thoughts anyway. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this is helpful. Hope people can learn from this. But yeah, one way or the other, though, you're way farther advanced than you think you are. If this is like a confidence issue or something, I know you probably don't have a lot of time to do keys. Obviously, you don't have as much time as I do. Most people on the planet don't. But just get more reps, man. You're a lot better than the score that you have indicates and the success that you have indicates. You do most of the hard stuff right. You're doing a really good job with CD usage. That one mistake there where you use all your CDs on the easy part of that, and that's just practice, just getting used to that. You'll never make that mistake again now. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.